Hi there, and welcome to Horrific Tales and Ghostly Trails. I'm Robin Shuckburgh, and this channel delves into the darker depths of idyllic places. And today we're in the historic town of Cheltenham. Don't forget to subscribe for even more stories. Those of you joining us from the Cotswold Explorer will remember we visited here in our 2022 Halloween special, but on this occasion we're going to bring you a few more tales from the area. Out on the western edge of the Cotswolds, Cheltenham is as ancient as any other town in the county. As a royal manor, it features in the earliest pages of the Gloucestershire section of the Domesday Book, and was awarded a market charter in 1226. But before we move toward the settlement itself, we're beginning tonight at the top of Cleeve Hill, a few miles away. This place is home to a neolithic long barrow known as Belas Knap. Containing around 40 bodies, the bones found here date from some 6,000 years ago. The first recorded excavation of this site took place in the 1860s, but now it's looked after by English Heritage. It features a large false entrance and two hidden side entrances that lead into the actual burial chambers. These are mostly blocked, so you can only enter a little way. A circle of stones on the ground was also discovered during the excavation, along with some flint artifacts and animal bones. Naturally, a place with this much ancient history is bound to have one or two ghost stories. Some visitors, whilst admiring the landmark, have reported feeling as if they were being watched. One account apparently saw hooded and robed figures walking with an energetic gait around the site. Another story tells of a visitor to the Long Barrow who was walking across the hill one evening when she paused to admire the view. As she did so, she spotted a group of monks making their way across the hill towards her. Not wanting to interrupt some kind of sacred ceremony, she took a walk to the other side of the Long Barrow. Curiosity got the better of her, however, and when she went to check on the ceremony, she found herself completely alone. The monks had disappeared entirely. She was even more surprised to find the countryside had changed. Fewer trees, tidier hedges, and differently shaped fields now shaped the view. Could this woman have been gazing, albeit briefly, into the past? Making their way down from the site through the trees, some have said that spirits of nature inhabit the woods. A feeling of being watched can accompany you as you pass through the trees. On the lane passing Belas Knap, a blue shade has been seen stepping blindly into the road. It's been seen going both to and from the ancient site. We move now into a slightly more modern area as we make our way to Cheltenham proper. We stop off first at what is reputedly the most haunted village in the whole of England, Prestbury.
In the Middle Ages, this village had its own market and fair, but these medieval traditions have been somewhat overshadowed by the growth of Cheltenham, and it's now more or less a suburb of the broader city. The village centre, with its old church, has, however, managed to preserve its identity.
But we begin our journey here tonight because it's renowned as the most haunted village in all of England. The village is said to be haunted by more than 24 ghostly apparitions.
We start our investigation outside the church. There's evidence to suggest there was a church here before the times of the Domesday Book, and it is here that the most widely spotted phantom can be found.
He's known as the Black Abbot, and is regularly seen in the precincts of the church and the graveyard. He can sometimes be spotted in the high street too, most commonly on the 3 festival days of Christmas, Easter and All Saints' Day. Now the Cotswolds was far from spared the ravages of war. Both medieval conflicts and the English Civil War affected many settlements in the Cotswolds, and Prestbury is no exception. It is said that several ghostly horsemen have been seen galloping the lanes of this ancient place. One, a medieval rider who was evidently heading to Edward IV camp at Tewkesbury during the War of the Roses, was supposedly shot with a bow and arrow. During 20th century roadworks, a skeleton was discovered with an arrow lodged in its ribs. Could this be the mortal remains of the medieval spectre seen galloping through the village by night? Another horseman appears as a cavalier speeding through Prestbury, apparently during the Civil War. Prestbury's sympathies lay almost entirely with the parliamentarians, and they set up a number of primitive roadblocks to fortify the village against the king's army. These were rudimentary but effective, simple lengths of rope tied across the roads. This cavalier rode right into one stretched across Mill Lane, flinging him from his horse. Some men from the village lying in wait were quick to grab the unfortunate man and executed him on the spot. It's here that his spirit roams, riding his horse at full pelt, moments before he fell from his steed.
Walnut Cottage on Tatchley Lane is also said to be haunted. An old man who used to be a handyman there haunts the dining room and is alleged to speak to visitors. Not far away, at the former Prestbury House Hotel, a young waitress dressed in 19th century clothes appears to check in on other staff. Perhaps she stems from when the house was used as a tea room, serving racegoers at the nearby Cheltenham races. Strangely enough, a famous racing jockey by the name of Fred Archer grew up in Prestbury and moved to Newmarket when he was 10. He became a huge success, but ended up taking his own life. His ghost has been seen all over Newmarket, but it is thought possible he haunts Prestbury too. In the 1970s, a group of women spotted a jockey crossing the street just in front of the King's Arms. As he made his way across the road, however, he vanished into thin air. Could this have been Fred? Opposite the King's Arms is Sundial Cottage. Here, another young girl is said to sit and play the spinet. Her music has been heard by a family that stayed here during the Second World War, and she was seen by others on numerous occasions. Prestbury is bursting with numerous tales of ghostly sightings, so do come and visit it for yourself. We are moving closer to the town centre. On Pittville Circus Road, we come across something quite dramatic. To quote the author Joseph Braddock, we find the best accredited ghost on record. This famous phantom has become known among the paranormal community simply as the Cheltenham Ghost. The apparition haunts a Georgian townhouse called Garden Reach. This most famous ghost of all was officially investigated by the Society for Psychical Research. Frederick Myers, who was the honorary secretary of the society, interviewed a number of first-hand witnesses. Many people had claimed to have seen it over the years, and contemporaneous records were taken on many occasions, in particular by a member of the family that lived in the house. The hauntings occurred between 1882 and 1886, just 20 years after the house was built. Garden Reach's first residents were an unhappy couple called Swinhoe. Mr. Swinhoe had taken to drink, apparently never able to get over the death of his first wife. His second wife, Imogen, was very poorly treated as a result, and subsequently, or should I say consequently, she hit the bottle too. After years of booze and argument,
they finally succumbed, together perhaps for the first time, to the alcohol. The next family to move in were the Despards. Captain Despard and his wife never experienced anything particularly ghostly, beyond inexplicable noises and the sound of feet apparently traipsing the passages and stairs. However, their servants, children and guests all claimed to see the ghost. Perhaps the most articulate witness was their 19-year-old daughter Rose. Her account of her first sighting of the ghost is recorded as follows. I had gone up to my room, but was not yet in bed, when I heard someone at the door, and went to it, thinking it might be my mother. On opening the door, I saw no one, but on going a few steps along the passage, I saw the figure of a tall lady, dressed in black, standing at the head of the stairs. After a few moments, she descended the stairs, and I followed for a short distance, feeling curious who it could be. I had only a small piece of candle, and it suddenly burned itself out. Being unable to see any more, I went back to my room. The figure was a tall lady dressed in black, of a soft woolen material, judging from the slight sound when she moved. Her face was hidden by a handkerchief held in the right hand. This is all I noticed then, but on further occasions when I was able to observe her more closely, I saw the upper part of the left side of her forehead and a little of the hair above. Her left hand was nearly hidden by her sleeve and a fold of her dress, but as she held it down, a portion of a widow's cuff was visible on both wrists, so that the whole impression was that of a lady in widow's weeds.
During the 2 years from 1882 to 1884, she claimed to see the figure about a dozen times, initially with long intervals that gradually grew shorter with each appearance. On one occasion, Rose approached the phantom and attempted to speak to it. Rose was convinced it was attempting to reply, but all she heard was a sigh, and the ghost sidestepped her and disappeared into the darkness. On other occasions, the family heard mysterious footsteps, bangs, bumps, and the turning of door handles by invisible hands. In 1948, years after the Despards had left, a full review of the case was published by psychical researcher B. Abdy Collins. Garden Reach had become a boarding school for boys in the 1900s, but was forced to move because of the regular appearance of the ghost. Shortly after this, the building was converted into flats, renamed St. Anne's, since when no further reports of ghostly activity have ever been reported.
Of course, this isn't the only haunted place in Cheltenham. In the General Hospital, a grey lady, looking like an old-fashioned nurse, has been encountered on a number of occasions. She was reported as wearing a shroud, looking very pale and ghastly, suddenly appearing outside the door to the mortuary. This was witnessed first by a terrified employee who ran away in panic. She never saw the apparition again, but many others did. Ross Andrews' website, Paranormal Cheltenham, tells the tale of a haunted house in Montpellier Terrace where ghostly voices, footsteps, and inexplicable noises could be heard. This was all just a trailer to the sudden appearance of shadowy, toad-like creatures emerging from under a bed and crawling straight through the skirting board as if it were not there. There have been many more ghostly sightings in this town, including a man sporting a World War II gas mask and shadowy figures on the balcony at the Playhouse Theatre. Cheltenham is a beautiful town and well worth a visit, whether or not you're interested in or believe in these spooky tales. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. You can follow us on Instagram @horrific_ghostly for more bite-sized ghost stories and horrific tales. And don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter for behind-the-scenes access. The links are below. You can find more of me, Robin Shuckburgh, over on the Cotswold Explorer YouTube channel, so come and join us over there too. Goodbye.